Chapter 4. The Arrival. Saturday dawned crisp and clear, and Katherine's anticipation was palpable as she prepared for her journey. The bus ride to Atchinson was long, stretching over 2 hours, but she barely noticed the passage of time, her thoughts consumed by the prospect of finally seeing the mansion. The prospect of stepping into the shadows of her childhood and unearthing the mysteries of the old town had her both excited and on edge. When she arrived in Atchinson, Katherine made her way to the local park, a place she remembered from her youth, albeit with a sense of unease. The park was eerily quiet, its once familiar swings and slides now seemingly lifeless under the overcast sky. She spotted Emily Carter waiting by one of the weathered benches, the real estate agent's presence a stark contrast to the somber surroundings. Emily greeted her with a polite but distant smile. "Good to see you, Katherine. I brought everything you'll need for the paperwork." She gestured to a large folder and a stack of photographs, which she carefully laid out on the bench. Among them were images of the mansion, its Victorian grandeur captured in various angles. But the photos did little to dispel the air of mystery surrounding the property. The spiky roof and overgrown yard looked even more imposing in person. Katherine glanced at the papers, her mind already racing with questions. "I'd really like to see the mansion before we finalize anything. Don't you think it's important for me to see it in person first?" Emily's expression tightened slightly. "I understand your concern, but I don't handle house viewings. If you wish to see the mansion, you'll have to go alone. I'm here to provide the necessary documents and answer any questions you might have." Katherine's brows knitted in confusion. The arrangement struck her as unusual, especially given the town's chilly demeanor and her own sense of unease about the property. She nodded, trying to mask her disappointment. "All right, then. Can you show me where it is?" Emily pointed vaguely towards the edge of town, her gesture indicating a path that led out beyond the park. Katherine followed her gaze and squinted into the distance. There, obscured by the hazy light of the afternoon, she could just make out the outline of the mansion, its spiky roof piercing the skyline like a jagged silhouette against the horizon. With a final nod from Emily, Katherine gathered the papers and photographs, feeling a mix of trepidation and excitement. As she walked towards the mansion, the quiet, almost oppressive atmosphere of Atchinson seemed to close in around her. The town, with its abandoned streets and unwelcoming residents, now felt like a stage set for the secrets she was about to uncover. The mansion loomed ahead, a brooding presence that promised to reveal the truths hidden in the shadows of her past. Katherine made her way along the dusty path that led to the mansion, each step stirring up clouds of yellow leaves that had carpeted the ground. The path, now nearly obscured by the thick layer of fallen foliage, seemed to absorb the sound of her footsteps, leaving only the mournful howling of the wind to accompany her. The sky above was a steely gray, adding a sense of foreboding to her approach. The mansion finally came into view as she reached the end of the path, standing like a grand, forgotten castle against the backdrop of the stormy sky. The imposing metal gate before her creaked as the wind tugged at it, and she could feel a shiver of excitement and apprehension run down her spine. The house was a towering edifice of faded glory, its myriad windows staring out like hollow eyes. It was an imposing structure with a solitary tower crowned by a spiky roof that lended an air of Gothic mystery. The exterior spoke of years of neglect, and an unsettling aura hung around it, as if the house itself were holding its breath, waiting for someone to awaken it from its slumber. As Katherine approached the mansion, her eyes were drawn to the wrought iron gate that stood sentinel at the entrance to the estate. Etched into the metalwork was a tarnished brass sign, barely visible against the weathered surface. The inscription, Wraithfield Mansion, was both elegant and foreboding. The name seemed to resonate with an old-world charm, yet the word Wraithfield conjured unsettling images of spectral presences and forgotten realms. The faded letters, partially obscured by creeping ivy and the encroaching darkness of the woods, added a touch of grim mystery to the already eerie atmosphere surrounding the mansion. With a deep breath, Katherine pushed open the gate and stepped onto the grounds. The yard was overgrown and unkempt, but the mansion's size and grandeur were undeniable. She could already picture herself here, despite the creeping sense of eeriness that accompanied her. Entering through the front door, she was greeted by a large, echoing salon. The space was grand but dim, with dust motes dancing in the scant shafts of light that filtered through grimy windows. To her left, a long hallway stretched out, flanked by two guest rooms that seemed to whisper of bygone visitors. The enormous kitchen, with its vintage appliances and cavernous counters, hinted at a time when servants bustled about, preparing meals for a now-vanished household. A grand staircase, its ornate banister curving gracefully upward, dominated the center of the ground floor. Katherine's eyes followed the staircase to the first floor, where 5 rooms awaited her inspection. The master bedroom was spacious, its high ceiling and large windows promising comfort, while the 4 smaller rooms appeared to have served as guest quarters or children's rooms. Each floor boasted its own bathroom, a practical feature that added to the mansion's charm. The attic, though she did not venture into it, loomed above with the promise of additional storage or perhaps even a hidden treasure trove of forgotten belongings. Katherine felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with curiosity. The mansion, despite its state of disrepair, was still a canvas of possibility. She didn't feel compelled to explore every single room in detail. Her focus was more on gaining a general sense of the property. It was clear that while the mansion needed considerable renovation, dusting, vacuuming, and a general cleanup, it was livable immediately. The most pressing concern, she mused, would be to remove the unsettling large portraits that loomed ominously above the staircase. Their watchful eyes seemed to follow her every move, adding to the mansion's already palpable sense of mystery. As Katherine stood in the middle of the grand staircase, she made her final decision. Despite its eerie charm and the work it would require, she felt a deep connection to the mansion. This property, with its air of solemn grandeur and hidden potential, was hers. She would buy it and begin a new chapter in its shadowed halls, ready to embrace the challenges and the mysteries it promised to unveil.